Aqui é a Home Office 5521, Rio de Janeiro, Brasil, Private Room, Off-Season 2021. We will have, general lines here and to inspire you to achieve, a new purpose, I would say. The idea, since we had problems, is do not change what we do and who we are. And of course that we had a lot of things abandoned at the environment. And we consider that those abandoned things, you know, can have the use very helpful and by a different point of view and maybe a new insight sparkling, you know, that moment when that thing got cracked, you had something amazing. And we did this. We had a new portfolio integrating as an integrated argument, which is presented as a full service. This full service, of course, if it's full, can be fitted in all companies as technology. American, we did this. This full service portfolio had the attraction and the gravity enough to attract all those companies and such, something that we have. And we had, I would say, a target. We are targeting have until the end of the year a machine which we can have, for instance, a review or take a look or have the inspiration at the PS2, which was launched at the 80s, crossing to the 90s, as a personal computer, and at the time was something outstanding. It's kind of a dream. And we had this machine with the operational system, which we had two operational systems, the DOS and the Windows. One working at your very primary access to the digital space at that time, which wasn't so interconnected as on present time. We had a plug at the phone, 256 kps, I think, and things go on. And you had the Windows at that time, very crude, very primary, but with something that made the Microsoft a monster that is on present time, which was the Office. The Office was, a new paradigm to present things. And you will observe that the word is a typewriter. Simple. The Excel, this was a cross-set arrangement as a matrix that had a big impact at the market. And we had the PowerPoint, which allowed us to close this Office as an instrument to have professional presentations. And this only happened with a system named Windows. See, the first risk against the Windows was when you had some similar instrument to have this presentation at the digital space, and this was in the very beginning of the 2000. During all this period, I mean, the very early 90s up to 2000, there was only Microsoft. And then you had the Linux, which is a new operational system that can be connected, can be, placed with, as an open code. I think that's an open code source. The problem, in my opinion, as an open code source is that uh, the development of this platform or system indeed had no property as I would say main directory to sustain this kind of activity as development, which will be like the Tetsu at the Akira cartoon. I would say will be a big bubble and will burst. Same crap as this, idea as open source code without a main directory. It means you do not have the root file, at least explicit, to have the, I would say follow up about things that you are developing, doing the development. And looks like that you had this at other areas as pattern or interest to have development of things inside the market, inside the company without no control at all. It's the idea of the broken window as law and order theory at the 80s. You know? Very analogical. On present time, we could bring to the top, now make the jump into the digital space, you know. And this concurrent field of interest, which plays some big companies, indeed we had this before, had the audit, and we had the big four, and it's a big mess against the fraud movement to obtain any kind of advantage around the globe, but others with legitimate interest down, but the sovereignty of nations down, still property of the person, of the company, of the government as planetary treasury. And this is, a very relevant data. The place when you have the audit placed properly, you had more control about things. And in Brazil is, a terrible thing. Maybe you try to corrupt the audit. It's a fact, indeed, already happened. The PwC looks like that had a problem with a global company as technology named IBM. See? And we had a problem with the government Brazil. Cross data time space 2012 2021. I will make a cut 2018. I will make another cut 2014. 2012, 2014. Any contract as fraud contract management involving the IBM, PwC, and Brazilian government projected as hidden American government, American company. Act in Brazil requesting this information by White Collar Crime Law Brazil, cross data, overpayment at the target, Operation Third Wing, ongoing. Any question? If this happened in Brazil, we had a crime committed, involving all by silence, flagrant delict. Against the top, Law and Order Theory, a review from my private room. And we had this machine as the PS2 with until the end of the year. Segment 1, the regular users, because the PS2 was made for them. The PS2, which means the police segment, 2, is the users as officers at the law enforcement, single variables. with a login connected at this machine, which will be presented. We have some ideas on mine. PS23 as police segment 2, part 3, which is the NATO and the law enforcement as institution that can have the storage as complaints made by users, complaints or distortions made by officers. These will for sure have a problem at the mistake. And in the end, we had the institutional possibility as agreement or argument. Agreement offering the players with problem not have the internal control against them, or having the argument to support, for instance, the charge against the criminal offensive behavior against this research in Brazil. When you try to, when indeed you did, you steal a data asset as PFRO, which is something used to change things at your machine that are forbidden to be modified, and you do the same thing at the antivirus that has the storage of this file. You must be very sure if this file could be placed there to track your movement, you know, as real-time monitoring procedure. And we have the PS23 as argument against you. You are a criminal offender. Any question? Review Operation Tarduin 2012-2014 Overpriced Contract Brazil, American company, Brazilian government, American company. Big player involved. Is this for real? PwC? Any government, not explicit as America. Geopolitical, we have these institutions. Period, we had ombudsman. Time and space, we cross both using the logic as Excel. Crossed data, crossed cut. Security for Brazil USA. Have a nice week. Until the end of the year, we will have this idea, and we have arguments to do not let the charge go away, because the offender must have the payment as compensation, suffer the seizure, and have the prison against specific variables hidden themselves inside institutions with motivation by cowardice, perfidy, falsehood, and corruption. Have a nice week.